Good morning, all, and welcome to another edition of Saturday Morning Coffee with Back to Basics Dog Training. As always, I am super excited to be here this week, as I am every week. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Leon. I'm the head trainer here at Back to Basics Dog Training, and each and every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I bring to you this free dog training Q&A session. So if you're a first-time viewer, ask your questions. If you're a repeat viewer, ask your questions. As always, let me know you're here. Let me know you're watching. Let me know where you're watching from. Does my heart good when I see people reach out and say, "Hey, I'm watching it, from so and so." So with that being said, we're going to jump into this week's actually, before I drop into this week's subject, anybody who knows, I do either bi-weekly or bi-monthly or once a month. It depends on how I get my guests. Talk show on either Tuesday or Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock called The Animal Talk with Back to Basics Dog Training. Had a great podcast, for lack of better terms, last Thursday evening with a group from the Center for Discovery up in Harris, New York. They do a lot of work with our special needs children and adults, and they use rescue animals to help in the therapy process. So it was a real great interview. If you didn't catch it live, watch it on the replay. It's on my Facebook page. It's on my YouTube channel. Catch it. Listen how wonderful these people are doing with rescue animals. Mostly right now they're using miniature horses. They use goats, they use chickens, they have a rabbit. They have a dog program that they're implementing shortly. So it's really real interesting to see how our rescue animals guys can help with people with special needs. It was beautiful listening to some of the stuff that they've discovered to get people that were non-communicative to actually start communicating with the help of the animals. So definitely, if you haven't watched it, please make sure you watch it. On my YouTube channel, I'll put a card somewhere up on the top over here, I think it is, with a link to that interview. It was pretty good. But my next one's going to be actually something really interesting, and I think you guys may want to share this with all your fellow dog lovers or animal lovers in general. The next one's going to be with an elder care attorney. Going to go over how to prepare for the, God forbid somebody passes away who has an animal, how to prepare their animals in their wills to make sure their animals are taken care of. So we don't see some of these posts that we see on Facebook. Good morning, Michelle and Athena and Rob. She's going to go over how we can prepare and set up for, animals when we pass away, so our animals are taken care of. So we don't see what we see on Facebook. Somebody passed away. Family can't take care of the pets. There's no money to take care of the pets. Whatever. She's going to go through the process of how to have in your will taken care of. I think this is going to be really interesting. I think it's real important that we get the word out there. So I haven't come up with a date yet, but of course, as always, I will post that information as soon as I get the information from her and we communicate a little bit more when we're going to air this live and in living color. So that's the plug. I'm going to mention that podcast a couple of times throughout this live feed today, just because I want people who join later to see it. Anybody watching on the replay, of course, you'll get it as well. So with that being said, we're going to talk about some stuff, and I'm going to start off with that taboo subject in the dog training world, which is e-collars. And I know all the pros and cons on it. I know some people may just automatically, as soon as I mention the word e-collar, and this live broadcast, and that's fine. That's your decision. But I try to be as open-minded as possible to everybody's opinions and take it all in. And I have my opinion on the tools of the trade. But I am going to talk about it, and I'm going to talk about it in a way that was successful for one of my clients who was having a real hard time with her dog. So I'm going to go through some of the stuff we did and how the use of the e-collar saved her dog from being returned to a shelter because there were some issues that we needed to address, and physically it was very difficult for her to do it. So the lady that I'm talking about has I call them pocket pit bulls, the smaller American Staffordshire dog, extremely strong. It's probably, I'm going to guess, 60 pounds pure muscle, very low center of gravity. So you guys can imagine anybody who has a dog that's strong, a strong dog can, you know, really give us a run for our money on leash. And she was having a hard time. She lives in a development where she has to walk her dog. She doesn't have a fenced in yard, so the dog has to be walked. And it was very reactive to just dogs. But the other problem she had is the dog was very protective of her. So, so excuse me, if somebody came too close to her, the dog would get into a guarded position. The dog was assuming a role of a pack leader before, feeling it was her job to protect Mama. Uh, to the point where even in this young lady's home, her husband has, I believe it's MS, and she was the dog was protecting her against her own husband, which was not good. We wanted the dog to be definitely not hurt the husband, and learn to be calm in more situations. But the dog had no self control when it came to these things. It felt like protecting her was its job, be it anybody in the home, on walks, it didn't matter. And like I said, unfortunately, being a 60-pound muscular dog, it was very hard for her to control the dog. So we did some sessions with her. We tried to teach, reward the calm, disagree with the excited behavior. But because the dog was physically strong, it was very hard for her to do that. With the leash corrections, it worked great for me. She was having a hard time bridging that gap. So we came up and we decided we're going to give her a tool to assist her to make her job easier so the dog would understand. And we did go to the e-collar. And we did a couple of sessions with the e-collar, and we figured out the lowest level where we know we got, the dog's attention, and it was working. It definitely, I saw progress from day one with it. We put the collar on. I did some low level. I figured out its low level was somewhere around 8 out of 100, which is not a bad thing. And it was responding to basic commands using the stim with the leash pressure release on the leash, and it was working very well. And then we took it to the next level of the discipline level, which is a little bit higher of a stim feeling for the dog. Well, like I said, this dog was extremely reactive to other dogs on the walk, to people approaching them on the walk, people in her house. She sent me a video yesterday, I believe it was, that she had some work being done in the house. She had workers in the house, and of course the dog went into its guarding mode, and she used a low-level stim to stop the dog. In the video she showed me is I got the workers over here, the puppy's laying down here, calmly watching the gentleman working. And this is something that never would have happened if she didn't go through the process of using, in her mind, the e-collar. Now, the e-collar, did it help the dog, hurt the dog? It definitely didn't hurt the dog. But what I think the e-collar did is gave her confidence, Mama confidence, to say, I'm in charge now. The tools, guys, I've talked about this before. The tools, in my opinion, are designed to give the human some confidence. Being an e-collar, a prong collar, a muzzle, whatever it is, it gives you the confidence that this tool is going to help you, so your energy changes. And if y'all know me, I talk about energy all the time. So if your energy changes because you have this tool in your toolbox, your dog's going to sense a change in you, and it's going to behave based on you. The good thing about some tools, and again, it could be different tools, it could just be a simple leash tool, is if you do your training and your follow through and your consistency and all the stuff that we talk about week in, week out here on Saturday Morning Coffee, is the dog understands when I get this leash put on me, when I get the prong collar or the e-collar or the halty or whatever on me, oh, I'm working now. All those behaviors I normally do when don't have these tools on stops because I'm at my 9 to 5. And the beauty of that is you put these tools on them and they stop those unwanted behaviors as long as you train them what you expect when they're in their uniform, for lack of better terms. And again, I'm going to use my Zoe as the example. When we had the house up north, in my yard, we had everything everybody on Long Island deals with, which is the squirrels, the raccoons, the chipmunks, the possums, the this, the that, all these critters running around my property on Long Island. And Zoe, being a dog, took off after them every single time she saw them in the yard. And I was fine with it because she never really caught anything. Um, but that taking off that prey drive that all dogs have would be unacceptable on a leash. So when she has that leash on, she knows I'm not allowed to chase that squirrel. I don't care if it crosses 3 feet in front of me. I am not allowed to chase it. That's my job right now. I'll take it to another level, how the tools can change a dog's mindset. And they're not the abrasive tools that everybody freaks out about. And again, I'm going to use my dog Zoe. Zoe is my daughter's emotional support dog. We bought her a vest and it says ESA animal on the vest. And she takes that dog with her to school or to therapy or wherever she feels that she needs, Zoe to help her get through the process. And when Zoe has that vest on, she is not that happy go lucky. Every person in the world is here to see me. She knows she has a job to do, and she doesn't go over to people to be pet. She doesn't go around the room sniffing. She doesn't do a lot of the behaviors that she normally would do without the vest on. And my daughter did test Zoe this week. She brought Zoe to a therapy session, first time. While the vest was on, Zoe stayed right with her. During the session, she took Zoe off the vest off Zoe, and Zoe went around the room sniffing everything once the vest was off. So the tools can help change the dog's mind. I've seen this with the e-collars, where people put the e-collar on for whatever reason. Leash reactivity, aggression, just wants it for off-leash conditioning, whatever it may be. And once the dog has that collar on, the behavior of the dog automatically changed because that collar became the uniform for the day's job. And if we would get people would stop with the stereotypes of these tools harming our dogs. Tools by themselves, folks, will never ever harm your dog. It's the person behind the tool that can harm the dog. I also do believe in you get what you pay for. If you, and I'm going to use the stimulus collars, if you go to Amazon, you buy one for $39.95. Try it on yourself first before you put it on your dog. That's all I'd say, and you're not going to like it. The ones I purchased cost roughly retail is about $200. There's a reason there's a price difference. So you have to do your own education and research on trying to make sure you get the right tool for your dog. Same way, I'll talk about prong collars for a second. You can go to Petco and you can buy a prong collar, and it looks good, it's shiny, it's pretty, and all this type of stuff. But if you actually go to each one of those, points on it and rub your finger, you're going to find some of them more likely than not have rough edges. Well, rough metal can cut a dog. Flat metal can cut a dog. They have sharp edges. A quality prong collar, everything is rounded. It's all rounded, the metal. A rounded prong will never cut the dog, impale the dog, or do anything to hurt the dog. It's just a sensation. It's a feeling that they feel that says, oh, I need to change something. It's uncomfortable. I'm not saying it's comfortable. I mean, I've had both collars on me, and they're not the most comfortable thing in the world. Would I say they hurt me? Absolutely not. And what I always tell people is, if you ever watch dogs play, as hard as they play with each other, which is the biting and the jumping and the body slamming of each other, what they do to each other, you and I are going to be bloody messes. So they're a lot tougher than we think. But again, tools have to be used properly. When it comes to e-collars, I know I do it different than 90% of the trainers out there. Dog has to wear the collar every day for 2 weeks without ever trying to do any stim on it. Just put the collar on the dog every day. Why? Because I think the biggest mistake people make with the e-collar is they put it on the dog and right away they start hitting buttons. The dog's got this new thing on it. Wow, that's a weird feeling. I never had that before. And all of a sudden we're hitting buttons and they're like, what the freak is that? And they associate this collar with this weird, unpleasant, uncomfortable feeling. Then they see the collar and they run away from it. They don't like it because they don't understand it yet. It's It's like if I bought this and I put it on, and as soon as the moment I put it on, oh look how it's pretty, it's nice, it's a weird feeling because I don't normally wear a watch, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what the freak was that? I wouldn't want to put the watch on ever again. So you can do things differently to change the narrative of the negativity of the tools. Even with prong collars, a lot of times, depending on the dog and the dog's reaction, I'll put a prong on the dog, have a leash on it, but I also have my slip leash on the dog. I use a dual leash system, so I'm not making all the corrections right away with this new weird feeling on the dog's neck. There's a way to introduce dogs to tools to make tools not scary. And if you do it right and you take your time and you don't overcorrect like anything else, it works, guys. I can't stress it enough. We need to start getting away. I know, Michelle, if you're still watching, I know you're using the e-collar with Athena. Has it changed her personality? I've yet to see where it's changed the dog's personality. I've seen it where when it's on, it changes the dog's personality. But like I said, that's because it has a job to do if trained properly. But as far as every day being around the house or whatever, I have not ever seen in any of the dogs I've worked with, it changed the dog's personality. So it's real important that you guys understand this. And the tools are there to help. The same way I always say, muzzle conditioning is not for the dog necessarily, it's for the human. The tools are there for the human to help them change your energy, change your perspective, because I have this tool. My dog is going to understand it eventually, and it is. The lady who I was using as a reference has told me she would actually wake up in the middle of the night with panic attacks because of how the dog was reacting on the leash. And I needed to have her trust the process. And now she trusts the process. She's definitely much more relaxing. She's trusting her dog, because if you don't have the trust with the dog, you don't have anything. If your dog can't trust you, you have nothing. Period. Because if your dog doesn't trust you, then it feels it has to protect itself. And that's when we get the leash reactivities, the guarding of the humans in the house or outside the house or whatever. And that's when you see those horror stories. Somebody went to pet my dog and my dog bit him. I always ask the question, okay, they went to go pet your dog bit them. How close were you? And usually when I find this out, the human was very close proximity. And that same dog, if left to run around in a dog park and a human went over, probably wouldn't have bit him, because they feel like they have to protect their pack. And we need to tell these dogs, no, trust me, I'll protect you. I have your back, Jack. you know and the more you build that trust and respect with the dog, the quicker the process goes. And again, I use that dog, Duke slash Luke, that when I was working with him, whenever it was 2 years ago, a year ago, whenever it was, we rarely need to use the collar in the house anymore, although we do leave it on at all times, mostly for the yard now. So hold on, my mouse messed up. So I know she's most likely can't bolt over the fence. Keep her on a line with leash training in conjunction with it, right? And that's what it is. It's not just putting the tool e-collar on Athena and it's a miracle. It's not a miracle. It's not just putting her on and stimming her without her understanding what the stim is for. So you have to take the time. That's why when I do it, it's a process. It's not an overnight success. It's a process. Depending on time restraints and how I feel with the people that I'm using the e-collar for. And there have been people I will not do e-collar conditioning with because I don't trust them. But mostly we try to work low level pressure release uh, in the beginning with the e-collar. Low level, we figure out the dog's lowest level. And what I do is, I pick up on the leash and back to get that sit motion, sit at the same time I'm stimming. So now they're understanding of this feeling that I get with the leash, and that's low level stim. Like I said, this dog we were working with, 60-pound, muscular dog, its working levels, I think 8. And I do that 100 times, and I may do the come command, pressure, come, dog starts coming, I release the pressure. Same thing. I may do that 100 times. Now the dog starts to associate, oh, that pressure from the leash and this feeling I get is the same thing. Okay, now I understand. When I feel that stim, I got to do what I'm being asked to do. So be sit, come, heel, whatever the basic obedience commands are that we're going to use, guys. And then the beauty of it is you have the control to go up higher when the dog is misbehaving. And remember, if the dog's misbehaving on a leash, I say pop the leash. Well, that's a little bit more than me just doing, sit. No, that's boom. That's uncomfortable. You can do that with the e-collar too, so you would associate it with your discipline word. Nope, 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 as I'm popping the leash. And it's that quick. The good thing is, and this is what the young lady I'm working with was working with up north with the e-collar conditioning, is we all know as the dog's adrenaline gets going, that 0 to 10 scale that you hear me talk about all the time. Well, the higher it is, the higher your correction or the uncomfortable feeling needs to be to get the dog to understand or feel it, because they're jacked up. When adrenaline gets going, humans are not. We've all heard about the mother, mother's adrenaline gets going and she's able to lift the car off a child. She couldn't do it on any given day. So adrenaline changes everything. It changes your feeling, changes your strength. It changes a lot. The beauty of the e-collar is the ones I use are you can crank them up to a higher level and you hit the button. It's that quick, guys. I'm not saying hit the button and hold it. No. Boom. No. As long as it takes me to say the word no or nope, that's how long I'm touching that button when I'm disciplining the dog at the higher levels. So it'd be no different than me popping the leash really hard if the dog is jacked up. It's not hurting the dog, but I unlocked its brain. Now I got your attention. Now I can go back to low level, reward the calm, and move forward. But you got to get through to the brain. So the tools, again, are there for your protection. I had one person I worked on, e-collar dog, was very, very German Shepherd, one of its jobs, which is protection. And the big fear was it protected the house, protected the yard, protected inside the house. If they had a party at the house, they didn't want to put the dog up in a room. They wanted the dog to be part of the party in the backyard or whatever. And the dog was a food thief. So we did some e-collar conditioning with it. And now when they have people over, they just put the e-collar on. They keep the remote with them. But the dog already understands the concept. Oh, this is on. I'm not allowed to act like that ass that I was acting with when it's off. So it's a lifelong tool, but you may never ever have to use it again. I actually read an article that one trainer actually just put a dummy e-collar on the dog after it was conditioned. No guts in it, no nothing. And the dog just behaved because he felt that same sensation on its neck. I'm not too thrilled about that. I mean, I thought it was an eye-opening article because it's something that I do say the dog changes, but to me, animals are animals. They're bound to make mistakes. So if I have the tool on, I might as well have it where I can use it. So if they do make a mistake, or we get that stupid human at one of our parties and don't follow the rules and get the dog all jacked up and the dog starts acting, I have a way of reeling the dog in without keeping the dog on the leash, or locking the dog in the basement or in another room and not letting it be social, because dogs are social animals. I mean, think about it. People do this all the time. Having people over, they lock the dog away because the dog acts like an idiot. You're having a party, the dog gets sent to a daycare place, or they'll keep the dog locked in a cage or somewhere, and that's not fair. I mean, it's such a horrible, horrible thing that we do. Instead of taking the time saying, okay, I know I'm a social person, I'm going to have a lot of people over, let me train my dog to know that all these people around represents calm. There's ways to do things, guys, if you want to put the effort in. The other thing I do want to touch base on this week, of course, if people ask questions, I'll be happy to answer them, is Michelle from Remember Me Rescue posted something that was actually heartbreaking. Shelter, a lot of people are returning dogs to shelters and to rescue groups. The world's opening up, and we had all these COVID dogs that everybody wanted to get a dog while they were home, and they don't know now they're going back to work or back to real life, and they're like, oh crap, what do I do with it? That ain't right, guys. If you know somebody's doing it, guilt them into keeping the dog, make them work with the dog if the dog is misbehaved. These dogs all need a chance. It's not fair to send them back to the shelter because a lot of these people, it seems like, got these dogs during COVID, and it was a bandage to make us feel better, so we had companionship or whatever. Oh, now you're useless. Come on, guys, we got to stop this. And if you hear people doing it, advocate for these dogs, advocate for the shelters. They need the help. It's real important that these dogs deserve the opportunity. The talk show that I did Thursday night with the Center for Discovery, we were talking about how the animals they're using are rescue animals, guys. The miniature horses she's using. I know two of them that they adopted from a friend of mine, an associate of mine. They're using these rescue animals. The dogs, I think she said she has 5 dogs right now that they're working on training to be therapy type dogs. These are all rescue animals. These rescue animals don't get a fair shake. They can do whatever we want them to ask them to do if we take the time to teach them and stop worrying about that backstory. Stop worrying about all the nonsense. Just worry about moving them forward. And you'll see, I don't care if the dog's been in the shelter for 4 or 5 years. If you have the time and the patience and the energy to do this, they can be rehabilitated to do some sort of function to help us humans. And that could just be my family dog helps a human. Or it could be a dog that, hey, let's train this dog to be a therapy dog and go into retirement homes, go into homes with disability people, go into or visit our vets in the vet centers. Rescue dogs have a huge opportunity. There's no reason to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on buying a dog to do these jobs, when we can take these rescue dogs and train them and condition them for what we need them, to help us or help themselves, more important. Because what are we talking about? If I'm bringing a dog into a retirement home or into a vet center, what am I teaching the dog? You have to be calm at all times. And what do I talk about? Reward the calm. So it's just a matter of just doing it time and day out. It's such a rewarding thing when you take a dog like that dog Duke that I worked with that really wasn't given a fair shot. And now he's living a great life. That's a reward, guys. It's a reward for me personally. It's a reward for Duke/Luke. It's a reward for the people that adopted them. It's a snowball effect, and it makes you feel good about things. And if you need tools to help you do that, that's fine too. I read some of these things that these therapy dogs, oh, they can't use this collar, they can't do this, they can't do that. Well, that's a bunch of crap as far as I'm concerned. Just because I put a prong collar on a dog, and I'm going to use Zoe as an example again. Zoe is a great walker. I don't need a leash for her. She's off leash trained. But when I do have a leash on her, or my wife has a leash on her, or my daughter, we use a prong collar because she has a thyroid issue. And when that flat collar touches the thyroid, she gags. So I don't want my dog to gag. Doesn't mean she's a bad dog. I'm using it to stop that because she has an issue. I would use it on a dog with a trachea problem because it doesn't put any direct pressure on the trachea because that you need that flat pressure. So these, because people have such bad misconceptions of these tools, and it's not they have a misconception of the tool, they don't have a clue how to use the tool. People are up in arms, and that's what I said. You guys all know me. I'm transparent. I'm going to tell you how I see it, and if people don't like it, that's fine too. Um, I don't push tools right away. I try to do the simplest thing first, because if we don't need to, one, spend the money on the tools, why spend the money? Two, if we can do it, train the dog with a simple slip leash or a martingale collar, we train the dog that way. If we need to graduate, there are other options. Too many people give up. They put the slip leash on, couldn't get control of the walk. They put a martingale collar on, still couldn't get control of the walk. Oh, I'm done. Well, let's use a prong collar. Oh, no, that'll hurt the dog. Well, not walking the dog will hurt the dog. Giving the dog back to the shelter because you can't walk the dog will hurt the dog. So it depends on how you want to look at the term, the word hurt. So I know I went off on one of my tangents, and again, I do want to repeat the next upcoming Animal Talk with Back to Basics dog training. Don't have a date yet. We'll be with an elder care lawyer who is going to go through the process of explaining to us, the animal lovers of the world, how we can make sure, in the event of our deaths, that our animals are taken care of after the fact. I think it's going to be really educational. I will be blasting the hell out of this on the social media platforms. When you see it, guys, share it with all your friends and fellow animal lovers, because nobody thinks about that. We all look at Facebook, especially during COVID. So and so passed away. Um, they have a dog. Nobody can take the dog. What we're going to do with the dog? Dog goes to the shelter. Dog gets euthanized. Meanwhile, it's been a family dog for 10 years. You can't rely on, your kids can say whatever they want. Your family members can say whatever they want. Oh, I'll take the dog. Don't worry about it. I've seen the horror stories of that too. So I think bringing this function with this elder care lawyer is going to be a great thing, because this is where we all learn how to put it into our will, how to make sure we put enough money aside. So if, in the event of my death, I have to, is always going to go to one of my kids. I don't want my kids to be financially responsible for my dog. So how much money do I put aside for my dog? Uh, it's going to go through the whole process. I think this is going to be a great thing. I am going to blast the hell out of it. All I ask again, like I always ask you guys, every Saturday morning, I'm doing this live feed for you. It's free. It's no charge. All I do ask for payment is to share this with your friends and family around the country, around the world, so we can get the word out. And you all know the word that together we can help one dog or one family at a time. It's real important. And I do think this Tuesday Eve, this Animal Talk with Back to Basics coming up shortly. I'm hoping within the next 2 to 3 weeks we'll be able to broadcast this. I just got to work out some of the details and timing with her. She's a busy person, and give her time to write up what she wants and me do my research. So I ask the questions you guys want me to ask. And here's what I'm going to put out there. If you guys have any specific questions you want me to ask this elder care attorney, shoot me a message. Let me know, hey, can you ask her about blah, 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 blah? And I'll make sure it's in our feed when we do this podcast. But with that being said, guys, if there is nothing else no questions, I'm going to let you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. As always, thank you for inviting me into your homes each and every Saturday morning. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, and God bless. And remember, together, we can help one dog and one family at a time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys, and we'll see you next Saturday.